All right, so what we're going to do in this video is we're going to set up a grid where we're going to show our 3 articles in a stylized way, because the last time we were doing a news site, we weren't doing any CSS. So this is going to be a bit different. Let's drop down here and create a section. And just leave it at that. If we wanted to specify what section this was, it would be helpful to put something like this. And now we're going to create three articles in here. So article, and I'm just going to copy and paste and just change it, I think. First thing we're going to have is an image. So image src property, which is going to be the actual location of the image. So I'm going to put a dog. H3 is going to be dog kidnapped by other dog. And then the paragraph, the little bit of preview will say, California is no stranger to dog nappings. However, this one takes the puppy's cake. And then we're going to go ... and we're going to put a link here that goes nowhere using the hash symbol there as the hypertext reference, and it's going to say read more ... So I'm going to save this and refresh. And I tried to link to an image that just had dog and not the extension, which is in fact .jpg. So let's save, refresh. There we go, that looks a lot better. But it doesn't look right yet. So I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to create 2 more. Chocolate.jpg and then html5.png. Chocolate is actually good for you. All right. And the HTML5 one is just going to say, learn HTML5 now. And just some placeholder text here, so and this is not automatically breaking the line where it's most appropriate, so I'm going to have to do that manually here. All right. So let's go ahead and save this and refresh. And we'll see that it's starting to look like a better version of our last one. However, there's still a few huge problems. So let's put this into a grid and learn about width and floating. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to take this ID, top stories, and in style here, we're going to style it, and I'm going to tell you what we're doing. So once you've got the top stories element opened within CSS, we're going to say width is going to be equal to 1,000 pixels. What this is going to do is when we refresh, it's going to, make it 1,000 pixels, and you can see the rest of the width is held by a margin. Now what we're going to do is center this. We're going to set margin to auto. Save it and refresh. Now we see that this element is now centered within the screen, and when we make the screen bigger, it's still the same width. It's still 1,000 pixels, and this is part of modern web design. So I cannot stop sneezing. I apologize. Good thing I have this mute button. All right. Now what we're going to do is create a grid for each of these items. Well, rather, we're going to assign a grid. So I'm going to take each article and I'm going to set the max width to 32%, 33%. Yeah. So article max width is going to be 33%. And this is going to be the maximum width that this can become. And this is good for responsive web design, and we'll discuss that after, but generally you would set a baseline width and then the max width, which it cannot go beyond. And then I'm going to set display to inline block. Save it and refresh. There we go. The only problem now is that the images are way off, as you can see here. What we want to do is we want to make them max width 100%. And that's going to make the max width 100% of each article's width. So article image, we're going to say max width is 100%. So let's refresh here. And this looks a lot better. It is, the images now are contained within this, but you're going to see that the heights are different. And this doesn't look very good. How we counteract that, you might think we're going to set the height property to a fixed height. Set it to 100 pixels. But that's not gonna, that's not gonna make them all the same size. It's just going to base the width on the height and keep it in proportion. But if we set width to 100%, now they get stretched. So you might wonder, how are we going to fix this? Well, this is something that I've learned in my time doing web design, that this can be counteracted and it can work very well, but this is not the way that we're going to do this. So what we need to do is, rather than use an image with a source, we're going to use a div element. And the div does not have a source, so we need to set style. And here is how we apply inline style sheet styles. So I'm going to set background to URL and then the location of that. And this is how you set a background image. I'm going to save this, and also divs do not self-close. There we go. I'm going to save this and refresh, and you're going to see this has disappeared. However, it is there. It's just we're not giving it a height and width. So let's say width is 100% and height is 200 pixels. There we go. That looks a bit better, but not perfect, and here's why. First off, the image is tiling the background. And so you get that odd kind of tile here. So how to set that, and this is a background property, it's called background size. And we're going to set it to cover. And this is going to make it be however big it has to be in order to cover the entire viewport of that div. You can also set background dash position, and we're going to set it to center. Now we're going to apply this rule to all of the image divs. So what we need to do is add a class. Now a class is like an ID. It means we can style it using CSS, but you can use the same class on multiple elements and they will all get the same style. So let's set this to article dash image. save this, come back over here, and we're going to say article image. And I think I actually spelled out the whole thing. So as you notice, the biggest difference between targeting an ID and a class is just that the first character, instead of it being a hash symbol, it's actually just a dot. And this is how you will target a class in CSS. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump down here, and I'm now going to change this image to a div as well. So div class equals article dash image. And then the style for this is going to be background URL, and open up the brackets there, and then set the location of the image that you want to use as a background. And then remove the image itself, save and refresh, and we haven't styled these yet. So let's do the same thing here, and then we'll go in and style them. I'm going to set the background to a URL, and the URL is going to be html5.png. I'm going to close the div here and remove the actual image. So I'm going to save this, jump over to my style sheet here, and we're going to start applying those rules that I had. So height is going to be 200 pixels, width is going to be 100%. Background size, and this is the one that will make it not tiled because it will make it however big it has to be in proportion in order to cover that. Let me see. So what we have here is the background size attribute is being overwritten somewhere down the line, and this is probably just the way CSS works by default. So what we have to do here is add the important tag. Save it and refresh. And there we go. That looks a little better. Now we're going to set the background position to center on each one of these. So background dash position, I'm going to say center. We're also going to use the important tag on that. Save it and refresh. There we go. That looks a lot better. So this is beginning to look like a real article website. What I'm going to do is put a bit of margin on the top of the top stories. And this is not going to override the margin auto, which centers it. It's just going to say, okay, in addition to centering horizontally, we're also going to add margin top of 20 pixels. There we go. So this is our best news ever website. And in fact, inside of each article, I'm going to add margin and padding. And we're going to set that up for the next video. So I'm going to apply it right here so I can see exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to first put a border around it so that I can see how the margin and the padding is working out while I'm doing it. We're going to be able to use the border to assess what's happening. I'm going to add padding of 10 pixels, margin of 10 pixels as well. And let's go ahead and copy this in the article. There we go. And I'm going to change 33% to 32% and refresh. It's going to be 31%, I guess. We could actually divide up the 1,000 and set it to that. So let's open up Calculator here. (333 pixels). There we go. Refresh, and that didn't counteract the margin. That's right. Let's remove the margin, and you guys should see this fall right back into place. 333. Oh, okay. So it's the padding. It's the padding and the margin. What I'm going to do is I'm adding 10 pixels of margin. So I'm going to remove 20 from here because that's 10 on all sides. And then we're going to get this. And hold on one second. 313 plus 10. And there's a border of 1 pixel as well. So I'm going to remove 2 more. Make this 311. 311, 320, 31. All right. For some reason, I'm missing something entirely simple here. Let me make my page wide. Okay. So if we look at that, something going on between the borders themselves. If I remove the border, set margin to none. Could do that if we wanted to. Or we can create a container for each one. That's the way we would go normally, but for right now, we're not going to jump into that. We're just trying to create a basic layout, which we've just done.